Hello, all. I hope everyone's doing well. We're going to wait for Ben. Grim is streaming something right now, so anyone watching him or wanting to watch him, feel no pressure. Enjoy. Ben.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. Thank God. Doing well. A little, I don't want to say under the weather, but
Feeling it a little bit.
yeah. Well, recently I need to blame myself, but like I get like these crazy migraines.
Mm.
And the trigger could be that I don't take care of my body and I eat like I wait till I'm basically starving until I eat, which is not smart, or the fact that I just eat nonsense in my body. All these could be contributors, but yeah, it's quite annoying actually. Hence the lights are a little dim right now. I'm sorry about that. I just need some less light. So if
Can't trigger yourself too much.
I'm sorry.
You can't trigger yourself too much.
Exactly. And I'm just sad about what's going on in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously. How are you? How's your week?
My week is good. At a weekend, we went out. We went for a short, kind of like a mini, like a short weekend getaway somewhere close.
That's fun.
Like an hour and a half away. So that was nice.
And what was that like? Just walking the streets, enjoying, chilling?
Yeah, we were kind of in a small, more kind of small ranch. So just chilling by ourselves.
That's nice.
Taking an Airbnb, kind of like a Zimmer ba
While I recommend having children, take advantage of this solo time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I was talking to my mother-in-law and I said something about a nap and my middle child. So like, what's a nap? I'm like, what's a nap? I'm like, something Abba didn't do in 2.5 years. But one day, we're almost there. We're almost there. I feel it.
It's almost back to nap time.
It's almost back to nap time.
Yeah.
If I deserve it, you know what I mean? If I have to like work hard and make sure.
Right.
Okay. So you had a nice, relaxing weekend. Okay, good. Work going well?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
How's your stuff going?
Good. Things are heating up.
Right.
Successfully signed the sale of my home, my apartment today. So that was I'm very happy about that.
The one that you're living at right now.
Yeah. So and that's done now. So that's nice. That's one headache. That's over. The market itself is moving up. Like I said last time, like my partner is back and my the guys that work in my office are back. So that's been like a nice breather, having all these people back. It's also I also got to the office and I saw all these people in my space. I was like, oh right, you guys are here. So I had like quiet for the last 5 months, which was also nice. And like no one likes how high I keep the heat on. So I have just to deal with that reality right now. Bring back sweaters.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they're healthy and I'm glad they're back. And I'm very, very, very grateful and very privileged. I was going to ask you one more question, which was, and I asked you this a few weeks ago also, but how are you doing aside from that, just in your own little journey?
Good. Yeah, I don't know if there have any new.
It doesn't have to be updates. It's more just like how is it?
It's been going. I think it's been going well. It's been interesting. To continue on the journey and continue learning and living through, different, a different prism, or at least being aware of a different prism. And being, so it's something that kind of like slowly Suffuses, is that a word?
Suffuses? It
Yeah,
could be.
maybe our
Not that I'm aware of.
Infuses, that's definitely a word, but I think suffuses, maybe it's also a word. Maybe our English speaking friends here can also help us out a little bit.
Suffuse.
Suffuse. It infuses. Let's stick with infuses too.
I know, like diffuses.
Diffuses. No. I think there's maybe a suffuse. Where's my phone?
Sorry.
Suffuse.
If,
But
if
it just
anyone that is, wasn't born in Israel knows what suffuses is, you're welcome to join in. I'll take some of Grim Grizz's points. You'll get 15 points if you tell us.
to spread through over, or is it liquid or light? Yeah.
Suffuses?
Suffuse, yeah.
All right.
I've always had good vocabulary in English, at least. That's something
nice.
I
didn't even know that word existed. So
yeah, so it kind of suffuses my life in different ways, right? So meaning that as I deal with different things, as I'm presented with different questions, or having discussions with people, suddenly I might have a different take on things because I suddenly have this different awareness that I'm aware of, or a different glasses that I'm wearing.
Which I'm sure they're surprised by. Where the hell do you bring this up from?
Right. So, I mean, it's also like I think we spoke about this before, where it's something that I need to shred with. It's like it's something that needs to be done with balance, both from my perspective, like for myself, like I can't just, for my own sake, I can't just completely take on something without letting myself play with it first. And for other people, I can't just bring on a completely different perspective as if I've never had that separate perspective before.
And you're like dropping references. You're like, that's so Jacob, and they're like, who's Jacob? You're like, you won't get it.
Yeah. So
okay, that's nice. And your family back at home?
My family back at home is doing. I mean, in terms
Well, I
of
guess with more regards to your transition.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're good with they don't. I mean, my family back at home, they don't. It's not. They don't. They're not as aware. I mean, they know of and all those things. I think they're curious about it. Some people in my family a little bit more aware of these things, or have explored some of it. Like my brother might be somebody that's kind of more closer to it. But again, yeah, I don't. Like I talk to my mom on Saturday morning usually, even though now a little bit not really, but I mean she knows that like on Saturday, like I prefer not to talk on Saturday because that'll be like the only thing or mostly the only thing that I do that is electronic.
Next time you come to Israel, you gotta scare them. You gotta come in with have fake locks, right? A huge shtreimel.
Yeah, not on Purim. To do that,
exactly, not on Purim. Get off, and your mom sees you, be like, don't touch your hands.
Yeah.
Very nice. I'm glad that in their own way, that they're being supportive of you. It's very nice, obviously, and that you are also being sensible of this. There was many times when students come to Israel for the year to study in yeshiva. So there's a term called flipping out. And flipping out means you're quote unquote normal, and then you flip out and you become like a black hat, or you become very very observant of many, many different things. Now, right. What rabbis have told many of these students is that while you're taking on more commandments and more mitzvot, right? So I'm going to now be more cautious about meat and milk, and I'm going to be more cautious about these kashrut laws. The rabbis also mentioned, the law of respecting your parents still exists, right? So when you come home and if you go home and you're going to assume now you're going to demand your mom change all her dishes, you're living in La La Land, right? That's going to be very disruptive to your relationship. And Also, you need to be aware of maybe what you studied right now is perhaps a more pious way, and maybe this is the ideal. It doesn't mean what your parents are doing is wrong. It could be that it's a lot more lenient, and maybe that's not what you want in your household, but you should try to, of course, recognize where you are, where you came from, what they gave you. And a lot of times these children come home and they have a very hard time like adjusting. And
Right.
It's always a pet peeve of mine where you have these kids, a kid named Josh, right? And then like within 4 months, his name's Yoshua, and he's like throwing out like Yiddish terms, and he's speaking about like the back in the old country, and you're like, Josh, last 8 months ago, we were at that party you were having at Jessica's house, right? So like, it's all good that you're becoming religious. You don't have to speak like you're from Europe, because like you were never from there and I'm never from there, and like it'll be weird that you have like a European accent because you're not. But part of it is you want to immerse yourself in the culture in a certain sense, and that allows you, as we say, mitoch shelo lishma ba lishma, right? From what would be the exact translation in English, but from fake it till you make it, right? And there's a sense where they want to take that on. It could go to a certain extreme sometimes, it got to a place where like parents go and and the extreme version would be a parents having their kids sign a contract where like you're not going to stay a second year in Israel, or like if you do, then I'm not paying for tuition, and which is also crazy because these Orthodox parents, even if they're very modern Orthodox parents, they are spending a tremendous amount of money. An example like Ramaz, which is like a very preppy Jewish school, Ramaz, Frisch, SAR, these are different Heschel. They're charging like $35,000-$40,000 a year for a kid to go to school.
Yeah.
I remember when one of my friends in the seminary told me that that's how much he paid for school, and I was like 18. I was like shocked. I was like, well, what can you do? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, can you juggle? Like, can you do things? Like, your parents just spent like $160,000. Like, what's happening? Like, you better not just be like, English and math. But either way, in these schools, right, the parents are paying a lot. The kids are praying about 3 times a day, ideally, that one day they're going to go back to Israel and they're going to come to Israel and they're going to learn. And this is what they're learning in classes. And now when they're finally here and their parents are paying $25,000 a year for them to come to this year in Israel, then they're being told like, but don't take it too seriously and don't become too religious. So it's there's a conflict built in over there, and hopefully these things will balance out ultimately, and they'll all come back home. All right. Without further ado, let's jump into where we were.
Yes. So this is what we're going to talk about today, and the last piece was about the students, different kind of students. That's what we spoke about.
Right. So we said the student that understands quickly but loses, takes it in 1 year, goes out the other. One that goes in 1 year, it takes a long time for him to understand. It doesn't really make its way into his ear. It takes a while for him to study and work. But once he studies, he retains this amount of information. One that is quick to hear and slow to lose, right? So this is sort of like the ideal student in a certain sense. And we spoke about the one that is quick to lose and also hard of hearing as well, or hard of comprehending. And obviously this is very difficult. We also noted over here that if in previous portions we spoke about the Chassid and the Rasha, the righteous and the wicked, here we're not condemning anyone. We're just saying that some of it's considered a good portion and some of it's considered a bad portion. But we have no issue with the student themselves. We're just commenting on their traits and their ability and capability of learning. And ultimately, we ended this with saying that what's very important is that both the student and more specifically the rabbi needs to be sensitive to this. And just like we had with Esau and Jacob, which did not end well, it would make more sense to teach Esau the way Esau needs to be taught and Jacob the way Jacob needs to be taught. And as we move towards a world of AI, hopefully one of those technological marvels will allow us to maybe even have the same teacher while teaching all these different kids the way they need to hear it, the way it will assist them to comprehend it in the best sense as well.
And this is the new product that you're working on and is set to release 2025.
Exactly. That's the idea. I'm like Elon Musk. I'm just dropping down dates. I'm like, it came out. It's great. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where technology takes us. But for some reason, I do really feel like that is going to be a big use of education. You have 20 kids in a class, all having their own experience, different languages, different speeds, but one teacher.
Yeah, the question is, how do you maintain the one class if that happens, right? Like if you make
it's still 45 minutes.
And it's kind of like the party where everybody is wearing their own headphones. And
right.
Yeah.
So the difference is, first of all, I hear what you're saying. Now, obviously, you could decide to collaborate, right? There could be like 5 students or 6 students that are all down for just having it like this, and they'll just tap in, and they're going to be one group. And then there's a cross-reference also. I mean, later on, but that's for our second generation. We're not there yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Cool.
Okay. So next is chapter 13. All right. 4 midot benotnei tzedakah. הרוצה שייתן ולא ייתנו אחרים, אינו רעה בשל אחרים. ייתנו אחרים והוא לא ייתן, אינו רעה בשלו. ייתן וייתנו אחרים, חסיד. לא ייתן ולא ייתנו אחרים, רשע. So here notice that we're going back to calling some people out.
Yeah.
There are 4 types of contributors to charity. One who wants to give but does not want others to give is begrudging of others. One who wants that others should give but does not want to give begrudges himself. One who wants that he as well as others should give is a chassid, the pious one. One who wants neither himself nor others to give is wicked. All right, so we're talking about these. Excuse me if I'm moving a little slower today. We're talking about the 4 traits that these contributors, these charity givers, what kind of type of person this is. And notice that seemingly they're all, even the Rasha, which we'll get into later, they're all giving. So it's not really about the amount that's being given. It's more about their attitude towards how they give charity, right? Like what's the nature of their traits in a certain sense. And the mission over here is doing like a psychological x-ray of who these people are and like what they're thinking about, basically. So again, it's really about less about what you're giving or the amount of giving, but how am I giving and what's my attitude towards this charity. So the first one we have over here, at first glance, it would be quite curious, like who's this person who wants to give by himself but is insisting that others don't give, right? It seems like a weird type of man in theory, maybe at the time of the mission also. However, as you know, and I know, there are a lot of ego and fame hungry people. So they what's motivating them basically is they want all the credit, right? They want the recognition all for themselves, and ultimately they're driven by it's an ego driven quest for their own honor. Right. And this kind of attitude also prevents other people from giving, because he's really trying to monopolize, in this sense, all the glory for himself. A good example of this would be from my field. It's very easy to find a one donor. Like when you see buildings, it's not usually the building this is the Chazi, Jacob, Ben, Sandy, Kirk building, right? It's usually one name on the building because that person gets all the glory. So he's down to put down the 10 million to erect the whole building.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, let's say, paying the ongoing maintenance, right? You're not going to find that donor anymore. And then very quickly, it's going to be a hard time of people coming together, who's paying, who's not. The donor wants his name on the building. That's what he cares about. The working together as a collective is not really his concern at that point. That's what he's really, really interested in. So if we had a question about who this person that wants to give but doesn't want others to give, it is the glory-hungry person. And that's why we say that this kind of attitude is begrudging of others. So what that would mean in theory is, and I would actually want you to check this out in your magical book, and I'm going to start with this because I disagree with this, but I remember, if I recall correctly, someone saying that the interpretation over here is he's not actually a bad guy. We're talking about someone that he wants to be the only one that gives because he doesn't want the poor he doesn't want anyone to give up more than they can, and then they'll end up hurting themselves. So when it means that a Nora Abishel Acherim, he doesn't want bad things to happen to other people, even though I think that is like quite of a stretch with regards to like how this is being read. But as you are already accustomed right now, many times we have like this flip. It actually means the complete opposite. But having said that, I would just wonder if you have any commentary in that.
I think so. It says the Khatam Sofer mentions something like that. Where
says that?
Yeah, and it seems like I'll read it because it's a little confusing. And
does it quote where he says it?
Well, it's cited by Likutei Batar Likutei.
Okay.
Oh, Khatam Sofer. Yeah. So this is about a person who wants to give to the poor, but not a penny beyond what they need for their bare necessities. So then he is the only one who gives, and then the poor, they can't give by themselves, right? So that's kind of what you said. I understand the first part of that statement, where I can see that there are people who say, well, let's just give the poor what they need for their necessities, but not anything more than that. But what the Khatam Sofer is saying, that somebody should give the poor even more than their bare necessities, because we want them to also be able to fulfill the mitzvah of charity themselves.
Right. It's even the poor needs to give charity. That's for sure. Generally speaking, the interpretation is the reason he's begrudging to others is he's not allowing them to partake in the commandment of charity in this case over here. And it's also a condemnation of him, which is again, it's not, the reverse would be, it's not that he's trying to preserve their money. Rather, again, he's really just wants all the glory for himself. So it's not a concern of they're going to spend their money or not. And there is an interpretation that the others is specifically referring to the poor. And I think this is what you're referencing as well, which is I don't want to, in my mind, if I give to the poor, I may be creating a sense where like now they're going to have like an abundance, and I don't want that. Like I want to maintain the current status, the way things are. So this is also which is not unrelated to the ego issue. This is very like a control freak in a certain case, right? He wants to know that like if things change, ultimately that also means maybe things could change with his status as well, right? Maybe he'll lose his money. So there's a paranoia over here as well that we sense.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds reasonable, I think.
I mean, it makes sense. No one should act that way.
Yeah, right. There's logic behind it, but it's not something that you should follow through with yourself.
Right? So others give, and he won't give. And here we were saying he's begrudging to himself in this sense. So here too, he wants others to give. He himself is refraining on giving because he's trying to preserve, in this sense, his own wealth. And here it's someone that believes like really the other people are going to take care. They're going to cover this need, right? Like I'm going to be there. I might be shouting about it. I'm like, you guys here have to hear what happened. Go give Phil. But I personally am not going to give Phil. And this is, again, talking about someone there's like this deep rooted feeling of that I want to avoid financial loss. right? Like I get it. It's very nice. And more than I get it. That it's very important that, that Phil gets help. And that's why I'm going to call my neighbors and I'm going to make sure that they give. But personally, I can't risk losing that, right? So we're talking about someone obviously stingy over here, in this case over here. Now there's another sense, which is, there's a fear of also, like we said earlier, if I'm going to give, I'm not going to be left with anything. And there's a sense where this person is saying, I don't know what God's going to do, right? Mm-hmm. God is going to, like, while it says that God will reward the person who gives charity, I don't know if that's actually going to happen. That sounds like a very big risk. And what's interesting, though, about charity specifically, while we were told many times not to test God, right? As in, like, I'm not going to do this good deed because tomorrow I'm going to get 7 extra points, or like God's going to like give me a gift. When it comes to charity, God says, "Bachanuni, test me," and He says, if you do so, I will give you a great reward. So in a certain sense, this is someone that is also showing a lack of belief in God, right? He's saying, like, I know that these promises were made, and I know even more so that here, specifically with charity, it's stressed that if you do so, you will be rewarded. I'm not interested in doing that. And by doing that, I'm also showing like a lack of belief. Just to clarify, that doesn't mean the person that has, like, and we spoke about this earlier about the pious man who knows how to give for himself. We're not saying that someone should give his last dollar, hoping that God is now going to give him $100,000 because he gave his last dollar, right? God wants you to be sensible, take care of yourself, take care of your needs. But having said that, you should try as much as you can to be giving, because God promises us spiritual wealth and material wealth if we do that.
Right. Yeah, to the best of your abilities of what you can do.
To the best of your abilities, correct. Yiten veitnu acherim, chasid, right? So he's going to give, and he wants others to give as well. He is the pious one. So, right. So this approach obviously is optimizing like virtue over here, and it's giving charity and encouraging others to contribute as well, right? If the other guy was saying just give and I'm not to, he's saying give and I'm also going to be giving. So this is really showing like true benevolence in a certain sense, right? Which benevolence, and I'm really giving over here as much as I can. And of course, he's labeled the chassid, but based on what I just mentioned in the last portion, well, not last portion, but we spoke about this guy over here that wants others to give, but he doesn't want to give, we could still ask, we have to give charity. It's a commandment. So why is this person getting called a chassid if he's anyways commanded to do so? Right? All of us are commanded to give charity, and the 2 guys ahead of us, well, the first guy was giving and others not going to give, but all these people have to give, right? So why does he get special treatment in this certain sense? But here, it's not about him fulfilling the duty himself. It's about the line we say later about the acharim, the others. Right. He is trying to make sure that others give as well. He is inspiring others to give. He's leading by example that other people should also showing a tremendous amount of generosity, and he's urging communal participation in acts of charity, acts of holiness, obviously, because he's a chassid. So this is why we call him the chassid, because the idea is it's more than he's just giving. We're being shown over here that there's a sense that this kind of person is creating an impression on a lot of people as well. I have a client that was here recently, and he, since October 7th, has been very, very busy with charity donations. And he told me that people call and they say, I want to donate to these soldiers X, or I want to donate to this family Y. And he asks the person, how much did you collect so far? And if the person says, I didn't collect anything yet, he says, you need to go collect. You need to put in the effort and galvanize people around you and get charity and get money. I will match anything you get, but you need to make the effort. Like, it can't just be me giving. I will give if you're showing me that you're doing the effort. So I would say that would be an example of someone that is really, it's a call to action. It's galvanizing people, urging people to be participant. And he himself is saying, and I will participate with you, of course. So that would be a good example of like how one would go about doing these kind of things.
Right.
And
it's interesting also on a developmental, thinking about it from a development standpoint, where we talk about this, and this is kind of is echoed in kind of how Jordan Peterson talks about, clean your own room, which is like the first level, and then once you do that, once you organize yourself, you organize your room, you organize your house, you organize your family, you go beyond. In some way, you increase your effect, your capacity. You also increase your empathy in a way, and you see yourself as not separate than the people around you, and more and even more so as you develop yourself. Obviously, you can do this in a there's a bad way to do this, where the suffering of others somewhere in the world puts you in a place where you cannot function anymore, right? And that's not really helpful.
Like we said, the Hasid knows the delicate dance of being part of the other while maintaining his own inner world, right? He doesn't get overwhelmed by that. He knows how to share while maintaining what he gained by being the Hasid.
Right. So it's important. It's important, and it's interesting to see how you can care for the good of the others, right? The Hasid here wants others to do good like himself, but in some way that has to start with yourself. It can't be just like, I want others to do good, but I'm okay, like I don't need to do that, or something like that. For me, it's only like I understand it propositionally, but I'm not going to embody it, right?
Right.
It's kind of like that. And there is something interesting here that in the commentary.
Oh, please, sure.
They make a point. They reference Rambam about the different levels of charity, and the highest, or one of the highest, is like to make an anonymous an anonymous donation, right? So the person, you don't know who you're giving to, right? And the person doesn't know you. So the idea of wanting others to give can go hand in hand with that, where imagine that you're giving into a fund, and it's not just you that is giving to this fund, it's other people as well. And then in that way, it becomes there's obscurity in terms of who is giving money, right? It's not clear if it's just you. It can be also others. So that's a way of elevating your own donation into or that's a way of elevating charity into the highest level of charity, where everybody's donating. So there's obscurity, and that gets distributed in that way. So that was
right. So I hear what you're saying. Let's just double click on that for a second,
okay,
if you don't mind, and think about that, which is, you're right. There's an example over here of the guy that I want to donate the building, no one else could join, right? That's we're saying that's clearly an ego play. Mm-hmm. And on the flip side, we say, okay, what if I give a donation, but I do so in anonymously, right? But then I'm not necessarily inspiring people to do so. And here you're saying, what if I do, there's a collective anonymous charity, right? So here there's sort of like, it's a mix of both worlds. I would say though that, and we don't know, many of these individuals aren't walking around, unfortunately, but the true Hasids, right? I would say that if you recognize them as such, you know that they're not giving because of an ego play. Mm-hmm. And there's something inspiring about that, to see how they give and see what they're doing. Like the people that were calling, let's say my client, weren't thinking like he's being a jerk by saying like, I'm not giving you until you have your own money. Rather, he's saying like, no, I'm with you on this journey, but like I'm pushing you to do that. And that is inspiring. And obviously that can't happen like anonymously, or let's say you ask from someone anonymously and he'd be like, do better. He'd be like, who is this guy telling me what to do? But hearing from someone that is giving and doing and involved with many things, and having him tell you how to do so, there's something that's could be very motivating by that. But I hear what you're, so like I think like there's something about the Hasid acting as an example. But yes, if anonymous giving could be capitalized, then obviously that would also be very, very nice as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point.
I guess just one last thing, because I have a problem with them, but I'm trying to think kindly of them right now. In Israel and in the States, there's something called, I don't know if you know them, a meshulach.
I don't think so.
Okay, a meshulach is like like a solicitor, sort of like someone that is on someone else's behalf asking for money. So in the States, it's known that they pay these cab drivers who knows like these rich people in houses in New York or in Great Neck and things like that. And then this guy from Israel takes a cab ride on Sunday and he stops by all these houses and he asks for money for this bride in Israel, the school we're opening up, whatever the charity thing is. And there's a sense where like, I can't be dealing with these people knocking on my door all the time, asking for money. And they always have like some like wet piece of paper that they say like, oh, this is the rabbi that says like, I'm a legitimate person. Having said that, this is a very proactive and thoughtful way. Like they are trying to motivate. They're out there. They're trying to get money for these people. And while in a certain sense it seems like annoying for us, this is like a collective good. They're really out there doing everything they can to also highlight the virtue of communal generosity, communal giving. So I'm just saying this for myself. I have to recognize that when they come to the door, they're also representing like a general movement of, we're not doing this for ourselves. This money's not going for us. We're doing this for the collective good, for the people.
So it's interesting because it's kind of, they're employing a tactic that for various other
contexts
or causes, you would be completely right, or you would completely more in
right. I don't want to buy pots
like a salesperson coming to you,
right?
But there's interesting. I mean, that the idea of kinat chachamim, right? The envy of the wise is kind of a really interesting idea, because like jealousy is supposed to be this thing that is very frowned upon, but in the context of you looking at somebody that knows more than you and you're like, what, I want to know more than him, then that is completely okay, from what I understand, at least.
Because you're not trying to be better than him, you're trying to connect to his wavelength, and you want to be there.
Right. So first of all, it's a thin line, right? It needs to be articulated very well, and you need to be able to differentiate between taking somebody down and just wanting yourself or be inspired by that person and wanting yourself to be on their level.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously it's a very delicate process, but it's interesting because this feels to me very idealistic, where it would be a great world if all the things that we need, all the things that bothered us, mm-hmm. were the people that come to our houses for asking us for a donation instead of asking us to buy this new carpet cleaner, even though that doesn't happen anymore, right? But instead of all the ads for buy this new the new Vision Pro, even the Vision Pro could be nice by itself, right? But buy this new thing, buy this new gadget. It's all about help this person, or we were trying to create this new community, help us build this out. That would be an amazing world. And maybe, and it would still maybe, we'll still fight about it a little bit. Like, these ads about donation, they kill me all the time. But it would be a level up than what we have right now. So it's just an interesting thought I've had in the past.
Much appreciated. What I was going to ask you to scroll down, but we'll get there in a second. I think your Kinat Sofrim thing might be relevant to the next Mishnah, but we'll get there soon. Okay, we finished with the Chassid. We move on to the wicked. Lo yiten velo yitnu acherim rasha. Right? So one who wants neither himself nor others to give is wicked. Right? So off the bat, the Mishnah starts with the four, right? We said the four attributes or the types of the givers. And then we're told over here at the end that this last one, the wicked one, doesn't give. Right? So why are we calling him a giver? Now, there's a sense, like I said earlier, this goes back to the fact that all have to give. So right. This is in the context of this guy is not someone like, if it's like a wicked, evil man that hates everyone, the Torah doesn't need to let us know about that guy, because that guy's not part of the community. That's like, it's called the jerk. Like, I'm not really writing about him. Here I'm talking about the guy that is part of the community, that it is giving, But what he would want is for no one to give and him not to give, right? So
Right.
he is still bound by the community, and hence he's still considered, he's still one of these givers, right? It's just not the ideal version of it. And he's the reason he's labeled this way is that's like his inner disposition, right? Towards charity is just negative. And he wants everyone else to do so. And he's trying to embody like a rejection of this commandment while still participating, right? Like he puts his two shekels, his $1 in, but like, he's holding his nose. It's very hard for him to do that. Mm-hmm. And this is someone that is, again, like if earlier we talked about someone that's being cheap, this is someone that's more than just cheap. This is someone that's like, going to be crafting excuses why he can't donating. And even more than that, you will see people, and we see this in politics today. He's so not interested in giving. He will create a whole philosophy why he doesn't give, right? They need to pick themselves by the old bootstraps. Me giving is assisting them. Like it's a problem. So you have people that create all these narratives, but like, why charity is actually problematic because like, I'm not helping them where no one helped me. So I'm not going to help them. I'm actually doing them a favor. So you've heard things like this before, I'm sure. And that's why in this case, the Torah and the Mishnah see this person as wicked, right? Because he is corroding the system from the inside in a certain sense. All right, moving on to 14.
Sure.
Shalom, Sandy. You were chatting with a friend, and that's very important as well. Between two people, if it's a serious conversation, they're not joking and doing nothing, even there the Shekhinah resides. Okay. Alba, you want to take this one?
Yeah. Sure. 4 מידות בהולכי בית המדרש. הולך ואינו עושה, שכר הליכה בידו. עושה ואינו הולך, שכר מעשה בידו. הולך ועושה, חסיד. לא הולך ולא עושה, רשע. And in English, there are 4 types among those who attend the study hall. One who goes but does nothing has gained the reward of going. One who does study but does not go to the study hall, has gained the rewards of doing. One who goes and does is a chassid. One who is neither goes nor does is wicked.
Okay, so the study hall, the famous study hall. So this is a fantastic, beautiful, magical place. I know Jacob likes talking about his memories of the study hall.
Yeah.
And it's a place where there are sermons, you share sermons, Torah discussions that are lasting all day and all night. And you're fostering like a very like vibrant community in these places. And definitely in the challenges due to the exile, like the Jew, generally speaking, he finds his resilience and his renewal through places like the study hall, the Beit Midrash. And this is where you pray in many cases. And like we said, study, I'm cultivating a relationship with other people. And there's an inspired like love and commitment to Torah that you're sharing with these other people. And the reason I was just going to mention Kinat Sofrim, like you talked about, not Kinat, it's Kinat Sofrim Tiknei Chochmah. But this let's say positive jealousy, so to speak, right? Which I am jealous of these rabbis or these great teachers, and I want to, like you were saying, it's a thin line. Me wanting to surpass them is not necessarily the goal. It's iron sharpening iron. I want to be in communication with them so I could be sharpening myself because I could see where they are, and I want that as well. But by doing that and participating in that, I am hopefully going to become one of those scholars that then other people do that to me. And B, while I'm in that process, I am sharpening the scholars that I'm looking up to, right? So this is something that we're going to be doing together. It's part of the learning process as well. So you could say that in the study hall, you could see very passionate and seemingly argumentative tones happening there. But that's because people are not angry at each other, but it's a beautiful, passionate Torah battle, right? Where everyone wants to hold on to the Torah, everyone wants to be wrapped in it and communicating through it, and everyone wants to be sharpening the other one. No, you totally misunderstand what it said over here. Like, let me go back. And that wasn't a diss that you're an idiot, that you're stupid. It just meant like I interpreted it completely different. So let's talk about this right now. And not exactly, but if anyone wants to like sort of gauge what that temperament looks like. So many of the conversations I have with Jacob would be like that kind of level of tone, which is like very argumentative, but I hope people notice or see or sense that there's definitely, we feel comfortable speaking to each other that way because of a love, because of understanding that we're standing on the same foundations. And that's why we could argue that way, because we're all looking to expose the truth, so to speak. And that's why that jealousy in that sense would be healthy. It would be healthy competition.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just wanted to note that since you mentioned it. Right. So here too, by the way, like we mentioned last time, that there was only not everyone was giving, so to speak, yet we called it all the givers. Here too, we're calling it the four who attend the study hall. And then we have the last one over here who doesn't go, and he's not attending. There's two over here that actually don't necessarily go. They're not necessarily attending. Either they're studying it, or they're not going and they're not studying at all. And this is in a sense, which is, there's no exception. Everyone has to be included in the study hall. And that is a place where we're measuring sort of your connection to the Torah, to the holy place, and this is why the four attributes, these are four approaches that are important. You could decide not to go, but we're going to judge you based on that in a certain sense. So like, that's why they're all still considered ones who go or attend to the study hall.
Right. Okay. Right. And they do it in different levels, as we shall speak. Yeah.
As exactly. Like we'll see right now. So holech ve'no says schar halicha be'ado, one who goes but does nothing, he has gained the rewards of going. By the way, one other note, that there is a sense where in the study hall, generally speaking, because they're usually not mixed, they're not co-ed, it's just like a boys club, right? It's just like a lot of boys hanging out, talking, and there is, it just being political for a moment, but also practical. In Israel, the tension is that if you told me that all the students that are not serving in the army and that are in the study halls are all day and night just studying, that would be one thing. But in reality, there's a sense where like there's a lot of schmoozing, there's a lot of chilling, there's a lot of like, I don't know how productive it is. And while that could be beautiful for someone that has already done his service or taking care of the things he needs to do at home, then you could go and spend some time learning and maybe also get a cup of coffee. There's something else when, there's in theory soldiers on the front lines and, someone's just having his fourth cup of coffee right now. To be fair, many of the rabbis of these institutions during the war came and told all the students, everyone that was on, it's called Bein Hazmanim, between semesters, it's an off time in the study halls. They're home. So they called everyone back and they said, at the very least, we need to be studying nonstop all day. Like we can't, there's no excuse for us to not be in the study hall. There's no excuse for us to be schmoozing. We should just be, the classes start at 8:30. We go to sleep at 12 o'clock at night, and that's all we should be doing. And we should be studying, for peace in the world and for the soldiers not to get wounded, and ideally that no innocent Gazans will be killed. But so there was a sense where they also got together to focus their learning. But generally speaking, people need to be careful. Also, it's an amazing space to be in, but you have to make sure that you don't take advantage of the fact that you have now been given a gift. As my father said, it's called the ocean of Torah. And my father said, during these 5 years, Chazi, you're drowned in the ocean of Torah, right? Like go swim, get lost in it. You're not going to have this opportunity again necessarily where you could just, with zero commitment, just study, learn. So it was quite an amazing time, but one could get lost and one could take advantage of those things. Right. All right. So the one who goes there, attends, but doesn't do anything over there, he still gains the reward of going or attending. So the going over here is it's highlighting the intention to seek Torah wisdom in the study hall.
Right.
Well, of course, doing it is emphasizing understanding the Torah and internalizing what you're learning over there. The going itself has something to it, which is like you're making an effort. And the Mishnah is acknowledging over here that even though you're not fully understanding, right? And this is akin to the person that is hard of hearing, but eventually internalizes, right? So the sense of like, I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing in this space, but I want to participate. I want to be there. So we're emphasizing over here the intrinsic value of the effort of the presence in a sacred place, right?
Yeah.
We understand that this is confusing for you right now. You're not exactly sure what's being taught around you, but it's suggesting that just the act of going, despite not achieving anything, is still a success. And it still allows you to have a spiritual elevation.
Right. This is exactly what we spoke about in terms of fake it till you make it, or shelo lishma kedei lishma. I don't know how to continue like that. Because this reminds me, I've been having this discussion with my friend, and we're talking about this a lot. And the example that we use a lot is that I told him about, I was reading this in the Tanya too, that it talks about the person who prays, and there are two people there. There is the person that thinks really has the right intention of like, I'm going to say the Shema and it's going to be beautiful and I'm going to think about the unity and I'm going to do this whole thing and it's going to be great, but doesn't say the words. And then there's the person that doesn't really know what unity really means, but they say the words. And the Alter Rebbe, and I think this is the consensus at least, is that the person that goes and actually does the deed, well, at least he's rewarded for it, right? I won't say he's rewarded to a greater extent, but he's rewarded. He did the deed, and it counts for him, whatever that means, right? So, you can ask the question of like, okay, so, there is somebody that goes, and I'll give the example of like, I might have a friend, like, an American friend that doesn't really know Hebrew, but so he would come to a Chabad service and he won't really understand. He won't be able to like follow. They say what pages, but he won't be able to really read through it. He'll just wait for them to say, okay, now we're on page this, when we're on page this, because he doesn't know how to read the Hebrew. And he can't really follow, but he comes to the service, and maybe he has lunch if it's on Saturday. He has chunt at lunch, right? So the question is, you can ask, what's the benefit of that, right? And what would that lead to? If he doesn't understand what he's doing, is that really going to stick? Or like, how at that level, how is that appropriate? So I'm not saying there's various answers to this, but this is the discussion that I've been having with my friend as well. And it seems very similar to this as well.
Well, when they say schar halicha beyado, which in English is he gained the reward of going. So what is this reward he's gaining? The reward is seemingly, like we've seen in the Mishnah, the reward in the world to come, right? Which is like gaining this Mishnah and gaining this from studying or from participating. And in a certain sense, the Mishnah is telling you over here. I'm trying to think of a good example. Okay, someone's sleeping on a train, right? So he is not actively participating in the journey. Nevertheless, he still reaches the destination at the end of the day, even though he was sleeping. And the fact that he got on the train and he made sure that he was going to destination X, that is there's many people that didn't get on the train. There's many people that got on the train and went to the other direction. So yeah, I get it that you passed out and you weren't looking outside and you can now tell your kids about like what the whole experience was. Nevertheless, you're in this destination right now. You're in the holy place. You're in the sacred place. And that itself has its own benefits. And that's like, you might not be aware of these rewards right now, but if you keep on acting this way, eventually those rewards, that destination is there at the end of the day.
Right. But in those conversations, it's hard when we talk about you will get to that destination. Sometimes we also, it's useful to talk about let's call them the intermediary rewards, or the rewards of this world that we can speak of, that can get people to understand what you mean by the reward of the world to come, right?
Right. So there's a secondary level reward, which is, I mean, and this could be true in many different aspects of life, but showing commitment, perseverance, all these things that you could build and train your muscle to do so. Ideally, you could then use the same muscle that you've trained over here to do many other things, right? Be on time for your dates. But the point being is, like, all these things are things that you could exercise. And the idea is, if I'm in this study hall and I'm going there all the time, I'm going to get to meet people. Those people I'm going to start talking to. They're going to have an influence on me. I start building a community. So there's many earthly, very immediate rewards I could get as well. But the general reward we're talking about is the fact that I'm connecting myself to this holy place that has its own direction that is going on to it. And I want to be part of that. Just one more short story. I'm not remembering who says it, but this it's on as these stories always go, it's on Yom Kippur, right? The Day of Atonement, which is like a very, very very serious time in the synagogue. Another little anecdote, that's the one time a year where we have 5 prayers. Some people say that's where the Muslims took the idea of 5 prayers from. There's other interpretations. Either way, this guy comes into the synagogue and he doesn't know any Hebrew. He doesn't know any prayers, but he wants to be there. And the prayers are going on and he feels like sort of foolish. He doesn't know what to say. He's not saying anything. And at some point, like as it's getting towards like the end, he feels like he has to do something. And he just like, either he yells out like an animalistic yell or he whistles very, very loudly. And people in the synagogue come and like shush him and tell him to be quiet. And the rabbi comes to his defense and says, like, this was like the most real prayer we had in the synagogue, like tonight, like, which is just like, he doesn't know what to do, but he needed to do something. He needed to be present. He needed to be there. So there's a sense where that's also true, which is like, you don't have to know the exact wording, but just being there and it being raw in a certain sense is also a connection God is very much interested in.
Right.
Yeah. So did we, okay. Oseh ve'ino holech, schar ma'aseh beyado, right? So someone that is participating, but isn't attending, right? So he gets the reward of the participation, but not of the going. So this kind of guy is someone that is, he excels in his studies. He's understanding the Gemara. He could innovate the Gemara, right? This is like your real superstar, so to speak. And he doesn't really need to go to the study hall. And he prefers his solitude, right? So this is the guy we're talking about over here. It's not someone that just like hates the study hall or is like allergic. It's more that like he just doesn't feel the need to go to the study hall. And while the Mishnah is telling us he's going to earn the merit of his dedication to Torah and to Torah study, he's still missing the greater benefit of the communal learning. And that goes back to Kinat Sofrim, right? So like avoiding the study hall, it limits his exposure to new insights, to the scholarly debate, and he's giving up a chance to enhance his wisdom. Like we said, you don't want to be locked in an echo chamber. We spend in other Mishnahs that you can't decide based on your own wisdom, because even if it's very robust, at some point it has its limitations, and then you're just you're in a loop at that point, and you can't innovate. And the Gemara in many different places really champions the idea of like group study. It's the enriching effects that it have, and maximizing the potential of like accuracy in halachic conclusions, right? And that doesn't mean that it's accurate by saying this is the only truth, because we spoke about there's many different versions. There's the 70 faces of the Torah. Nevertheless, iron sharpening iron and discussing this with many people, that allows you to focus down and better understand what we're talking about. And this would be like a plug also for the TLC, which is a lot of that happens over here. So while I called it like a modern day Gemara, Talmud, it's also a modern day study hall, right? Where people could, lurkers come in. So a lurker would be someone who goes, but doesn't study necessarily in a certain sense, right? He's not participating in that sense. And then there's the people that participate. So Paul would be the chassid, right? He goes, he participates, and he shows you how to do it, how to participate, what to do. And I don't want to call anyone wicked over here, so everyone's good. But my point being, this is another place where one could practice this ancient ethics and wisdom that we're learning here from our sages is still very, very relevant, and in a certain sense being displayed in this little corner.
Yeah, it's interesting. So there's two things. The first thing is like one the commentary talks about here, and a few people talk about this, where the person that doesn't go but studies,
Yeah.
this is in contrast to
Wait, you're reading now from the magic book?
from the magic book,
Okay.
from magical words. This is the Meiri and also Midrash Shmuel. That it's, there are people, the Hasid, the Hasid is someone that when he's in a group and when he's by himself, he can study and he takes all the benefit. He's able to optimize in both environments, right? But the one that, like we said, he's good with himself and he's like, that's his space. But when he goes in a group, maybe he's not allergic to it, like you said, but he doesn't function as well, and so he prefers not to do that. I've heard this in the past, and I can see it in myself as well. When I pray with myself, I feel like, okay, I can pay more attention, I can spend more time doing more personal stuff, more like personal please or questions. But when I'm in a minyan, it might be faster, and I don't have, so I don't. It feels different. So sometimes I prefer this, sometimes I prefer that. So it's interesting. So that's kind of like the distinction. And then on a personal note, also this is just a personal reflection. When it comes to the TLC that you mentioned, like it's interesting because you can have different kinds of engagements in this space, right? And I never do any impromptu. Like I don't go on to just chatting or going to different channels and
You're wicked.
I'm totally wicked. I don't go into comments. I feel very comfortable with like when there's like, okay, we're studying this specific thing, and it's like I'm interested in that, so I know that I can participate, and that's kind of like what I go to, and I do see it as, but I do see it as an ideal of maybe being able to participate in different modalities. Like I do make the choice of only engaging in this kind of discussions in a TLC, but I think that I would maybe benefit also from doing other things, but I'm just not in that. I'm not in that space. I'm not in that level, at least now. But it's interesting how that also corresponds.
To be fair, it's Pandora's box. We've also spoken in the past about like we're not interested in the Moshav Litzim, right? We want to joke, but we don't want it all just the comedy hour. And we could have a levity, but that can't be what's dictating sort of the whole conversation, because there are just chatting which are just like nonsense, right? It's just like verbal diarrhea. People just like blah blah talking nonsense.
Yeah, but and there's but there's definitely places there where you also get to connect to more people, or to people in a more meaningful way, because you talk about things, maybe more personal stuff comes up, or you engage on a specific topic and you realize, oh, we really think the same, or we think really differently, and it'll be cool for us to think about this even more. So there's so obviously, like you said, it's tough because you can participate in more noisy discussions, but if you do participate in those discussions, sometimes you can find like those little gems where you can take advantage of something and really dive into it.
Well, that's what Grimm would do when he looms or when he reaps, right? Mm-hmm. When he reaps and when he looms, he's saying there's a 3-hour conversation over here. I'm going to take the 10 minutes that were relevant or that were gem worthy, so to speak. And then there's a question of like, was the 3-hour worth it to, if I could extract those certain gems? And there's other secondary level benefits, right? Like you just said, communal, someone now feels better about himself. So I'm not at all dissing the TLC. I'm right, like you said, I'm saying it's a place where a lot of this could be cultivated. I'm just going to look at some of these comments for a second. When I went to Shabbat at the rabbi's house in Chino, okay, I'm not sure what that is, but I'll trust you that happened.
You went with us to Shabbat dinner, yeah.
When?
In Chino, in the conference, yeah.
I got you. I felt guilty a little having a book someone else could have used. She means like a prayer book?
Maybe.
Don't worry about it, Sandy. There's a lot of those. But the whole dynamic of interaction stuck with me. Okay, I hope it's for the good. If I learn to read Hebrew enough to follow another time, I will continue a story that evening started. Okay, no problem. And ups. This is a great passage. It is indeed a great passage. Ups. And you are obviously feel more than welcome to join if you'd like. Okay, onwards. Holech ve'oseh chasid. One who goes and does, right? He is the chassid. He is the pious one. So this is obviously the most praiseworthy among the people, that's going to the study hall. And not only does he excel, but like you were saying earlier, he doesn't really need anyone. He could do it with them. He could do it by himself. Now, here too, we should ask, why is he called a pious one? Because we just said earlier, everyone needs to attend. Everyone needs to go.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we calling him one? Why are we calling him someone very special over here? And it's because, like you said, he could easily study alone at home, right? And not because that's what he prefers, because there's less distraction. Just because for him, there's no difference. So he could be doing this. And he doesn't need the communal learning environment for his personal growth, right? We said he is already very confident with himself, and not because he's confident, just because he actually is that person, right? He's embodying those virtues. But they understand that the attendance of being in the study hall, that sets a very powerful example. That's encouraging others to participate,
right?
And their absence, right, might discourage people from participation. And then it would sort of be like implying that there's no value in attending. And then you potentially end up having a lot of students sort of slowly but surely start dwindling their attendance. And here too, also very relatable to the TLC, does PVK need to be like, he has a pastor, he has stuff that he's doing, but in a certain sense, he does his videos, has his routine, and the concept is like, I'm participating, so you guys could see me participating. Right. And you guys could learn from this.
Right. This is the same argument for the charity.
Correct. Exactly.
Right. So it's
and that's also the chassid
sacrifice. So, and this is a point that they made. You made this too, but in the commentaries they made this explicitly as well. Is like, yes, the highest level according to the Rambam, what we think is like that you do it anonymously. But the chassid is exactly that person that self-sacrifices and doesn't do it anonymously in order to benefit others, so that others could also mimic him and others could also give.
Right. Not so. You said sacrifice. So like the chassid, the pious one, he prioritizes the community benefit over his own personal convenience. That doesn't mean he is, again, the chassid also knows, like a true master knows not to lose himself, right?
Right.
If we're talking about the dojo and the sensei teaching the kids and allowing them to fight them, that doesn't mean he like now lost 7 sensei points, right? He's still the sensei and he still knows what he's doing. Rather, he's saying, now is my time to participate with them. And I don't need to now use my time so I could gain one more level on my belt, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right?
It's interesting. Yeah. No, mind. Go ahead.
No, please.
I have it's just another example. I makes me think about in the army where you have a commander and he needs to keep a distance, right? But you need to do it. But you need to do it properly, because I mean, eventually you release yourself a little bit and you joke with your platoon, but you do it you do it slowly and you do it in a very specific measure so that you don't lose your commander points or the distance. So yes, it's interesting.
Right. So, I mean, I like that example of what Ben is referring to. Like he said, in the army, there's a distance, and then there's something called shvirat distance, which is breaking the distance, where your commander decides to take off his sunglasses that he was wearing on a night, not because he looks like a jerk, or because he now feels like he could be, more relaxed. My army experience was like was a little different, just because because I come from the study hall. When I joined the army, usually joined the army at 18. I was joining the army at already 21. And there was other people in my group that were also deferred their service. So they were joining at 24, 25. So everyone is older than the commander. And there's people there with kids. And then the commander's like, do push-ups. And I was like, okay, relax, dude. Like, I know that like you're building this whole thing, the distance, like we're all adults. We're going to do what you tell us to do. But you could also tell us your name. Like, you don't have to like do this game anymore.
Yeah.
He didn't love that, but eventually he recognized that like we're not going to change. So, but again, that was like a more unique scenario.
That's great for that commander. Yeah.
right? Just finishing what we're talking about, the Hasid, right? So again, we were talking about that he's not really gaining from these communal lessons in the study hall, but again, their attendance is inspiring other people, and right, and by doing that, by like you said, by acting selflessly, they're really embodying their piety, right? That's what makes them into the Hasid.
Mm-hmm.
Also, notice that the Mishnah for the Hasid doesn't offer a reward. Right? The first two, one gets his reward is going. One is the reward is doing. But the Hasid gets no reward because he doesn't expect a reward, nor does he want a reward. Right? He is participating in this because this is who he is. His desire to learn, his desire to teach, and that he sees that as a fulfillment of the Torah, and that is his that's his personal gain, as in being the pious person and acting in my mode is my reward.
Yeah,
we should all be so lucky to have that kind of mindset. Lastly, lo holech velo oseh rasha, right? The one who doesn't go and the one who doesn't do also is considered wicked in our sense. So here too, we call them all like the study hall attenders, the study hall goers. So this is someone that might have to go because, like we said, with the charity, it's like a built-in into the system, into the community. But he's showing no interest in any of this.
Right.
He doesn't want to learn. He doesn't want to join the community. He's not interested. So we label him wicked, which could sound a little extreme, but we've seen this again. Or at least you might have seen this in the Passover Haggadah. We have the famous 4 sons. One of them is the wicked son. And why do we call him wicked? It's because how he speaks. He says, what are these things that you guys are doing? And by saying you guys, what are these strange laws that you guys are doing? He didn't include himself. And by saying that, we say, with that attitude, you yourself wouldn't have been redeemed from Egypt because you saw yourself as other. So this kind of attitude, the person that doesn't want to have to do with it, right? So he's questioning the relevance of these practices. Why are they even doing this? Like, he's not even necessarily questioning for himself. Why are they doing this? He's like we said, he's effectively excluding himself from the community. He's denying these values that they have. And he tries to be disconnected from the tradition without, like we said, and he's not going and not studying doesn't mean he cannot physically be there. He just doesn't want to learn and he doesn't want to engage. So even if he occasionally visits the study hall, we're not going to give him any points because we know in his heart, or like with the sages' magical X-ray vision into their soul, they recognize that this person wants really nothing to do with this and he doesn't want to be part of this. And that's why he's physically there, but spiritually he's absent, right? He's not there. He's not connected.
Right.
I think we will end on this, if you don't mind.